Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Inner Conquest, the world's greatest modern metaphysics channel. I'm your host, Jacob Edens, and today we are going to be discussing the death of second cause. So, what happens when I coach a lot of my clients is that we're essentially disengaging what is called second causation, right? So, when you look at the laws of metaphysical reality, right, you can categorize those into multiple different laws. There's laws of assumption, there's laws of attraction, there's laws of being, there's laws of reversibility, there's state inhabitancy or de-inhabitancy, right? Or vacancy is a better word. De-inhabitancy isn't a word, even though it sounds good and smart. It's not a word. The right word is vacancy. So I will start using that from now on. Okay. What you are doing essentially is you are redirecting your power internally to you, right? Because you understand that the external reality, if you want to break it into dimensional spaces, long story short, everything outside of you is a thought that has physicalized, right? This whole place is built of thoughts. Oh, an architect thought of a house and boom, now there's a house you can go into, right? So you're understanding that every aspect of your reality is predicated on being initially created through a thought or a thought form that is focused upon, right? Then you're also looking at how your identity is reflected, your true identity, right? As you walk around, if you have an identity of never having enough, the universe continually matches that calibrated frequency through law of attraction, which brings you people, places, and circumstances, which edify you. You're someone who doesn't have enough, right? So a lot of times what we're doing is we're breaking what is called second cause, which is a reference to Neville Goddard's Pearl of Great Price, right? I can't have this because of this, right? So whenever you have that because of this, I have, essentially made that thing into a tyrant over my experience, because through law of assumption, you're able to discern who you want to be, what you want to have, and you're able to enter that state immediately. It doesn't mean that the external world is immediately going to reflect that, but the creative genesis of all things is essentially you inhabiting a state of consciousness, which is state of awareness, which is a state of being aware of either you being the version you want and or not being that version, and or having what you want and or not having that version from an internal standpoint, right? So when you break reality into different dimensional spaces, you have essentially what you could categorize as fifth dimensional reality, fourth dimensional reality, and third dimensional reality. External to you is a third dimensional reality. You got to go in a linear process to go, you want a glass of milk, you got to walk downstairs, go to the fridge and grab the glass of milk, right? In your internal reality, which is what you could call a fourth dimensional reality, you can immediately just go and drink the glass of milk, right? And then in that fifth dimensional reality, that's your I am awareness. You have all potentialities and possibilities within you that express onto that screen of space, right? So essentially what you understand is that fourth dimensional reality internally, if you can calibrate that to thinking as if you have the thing now, that third dimensional reality conforms to that fourth dimensional reality. So what you're doing is you're in this reality working against a couple of different operative functions of the game. The first operative function of the game that you're working against is what you could call a perceptual time delay, right? It's an experience of time delay. Even though when you adopt a state, you could consider it done because that's the creative genesis that has to be reflected on the screen of space, the external third dimensional reality has a reverberative time latent effect in which it takes a little bit of time to calibrate to whichever type of state you have inhabited. So what the premise of faith is in this reality is loyalty to an unseen, which means your re-edification of that fourth dimensional reality as a superior truth, also categorized in the story of Esau, Jacob, and Isaac, right? So Esau is considered hairy, Jacob is considered smooth-skinned, Isaac is the father who is blind, right? Every single day, Isaac gives Esau the birthright. What does that mean? Gives him validation. What does that mean? Your I amness, what you identify with, you're validating your external world as it comes to you. Oh, there's these bills. Oh, this is happening. You're saying this is reality. This is real, right? This is how it is. Now, what happens is one day, Jacob comes into the tent and has sheepskin on him, so he feels like he's Isaac. Or he feels like he's Esau. So Isaac feels the skin. He goes, all right, you get the birthright today. So what does that encompass from a scriptural lens? It means that whenever you have reality, what happens with most people is they see external reality and they continually observe it, they react to it, they accept it as true, and they fixate on it, and they judge it, and they essentially freeze frame that loop in their life. Oh, I'm always going to be this way, right? So what happens is when you want to break that loop, you begin to use your imaginative acts, right? Which could also be called your Christ consciousness, which is what Neville Goddard refers to that as your wonderful human imagination. Why is your Christ consciousness your wonderful human imagination? Well, because any type of external physicalized circumstance that has been the byproduct of a state that you've been inhabiting and has externalized and pushed itself outward can be recreated through the gnosis that you can go internal, right? Remember Jacob, he feels real, but he's smooth, which means he's a fourth dimensional reality. He's not a physicalized reality. But you can choose to shift your attention, which is Isaac, which is blind, which is your I am awareness, right? Your awareness of being and or your identity. And you can say, no, this is real. No, this is real. And you can do that from an internal standpoint through understanding the metaphysical laws of the universe, that what you do internal is pushed outwards, right? So what that does when you look at your wonderful human imagination as a savior type of aspect of your consciousness is that it means anytime you're trapped in anything, you can always go internally and you can see yourself as the version that's already overcome that or already has that thing 100% of the time. So you're never trapped in anything, right? So as you begin to do that, what you're doing is you're essentially killing second cause. You're putting that imaginative act and that self, internal self, your eternal body, if you want to call it that, which is your imaginative, emotional, internal body, the same body that, if you were to leave right now, this body, this physical body, it would die, right? So your eternal body sustains and animates this body. So when you put your attention and your eternal body into a state, you animate and energize that state to express itself, right? So same thing happens if you're in a poverty state. You put yourself in the poverty state, all of these manifestations, which is a fancy word for unseen to seen, start to populate your reality, meaning that you're in a poverty state, you're getting all these bills and all this shit, okay? So it's of the utmost importance to understand how to take your consciousness and plug it into different states of being. And the way that you do that is through managing yourself, your self-control, your understanding that what you are is reflected. So as you understand that, the number one point of emphasis is always yourself. What am I being? That's why there's so many I am channels on YouTube. It's understanding what am I being? What is the inner dimension of my life? How is my inner engineering from my chronic self-talk to my emotional states in which I inhabit? And how do I line those up to be exactly what I want all the way throughout the entire day, chronically, as if I'm living the life that I want to live right now, right? That's what's called fourth dimensional thinking. It's understanding that if you want something, you go directly to the state of having it. You don't say, well, I need this money to do this before I can do this. Or, oh, this person has to call me before I can go into an internal state and or see myself potentially have a relationship with this person. You begin to exercise your ability to act. And as you begin to act, what you do is you begin to real time curtail and cultivate your reality in the way that you want to create it, right? That's why you came to this reality, because you're a creator being. You're not a player in the game who's like a little piece of wood on the ocean getting tossed around. No, you came to create your version of your game in a co-creative experience with everybody else, and it makes an amalgamation that's pretty cool. But the only thing that can turn this into a hellscape is if you have what are called second causes, which is like, man, I really want to paint the color blue today, but I need a specific type of brush before I can paint the color blue, which doesn't make any sense. You can paint the color blue with any brush, but you decide that you need this brush to do it, which limits you, right? So you want to get rid of those second causes, and also understand that when you make a statement or a judgment like that, it's not that the statement or judgment is bad. It's that your will is enforced, right? This place enforces your will. So the way that this place can trap you up is it can get you to put your will into what are called contradictory beliefs, which is I want it, but I can't have it. And that creates resistance, which is the root of all suffering is that resistance, right? I'm so fucking stuck, right? So what you're trying to do in all scenarios of resistance is you're looking to disengage the unwanted side to allow the momentum of the wanted side to do that. The way that you get out of a lot of tricky things that have a lot of your emotional consciousness state awareness sucked into it is you go general with these things when you are thinking fourth dimensionally, right? So as you begin to think, you start to go, everything goes good for me. I am someone who has all potentialities within them. I understand that I can think fourth dimensionally, and this place will express and reflect whatever thought forms I am energizing and focusing on, right? So as you begin to do that and cultivate that identity of an individual who understands how to navigate this reality using metaphysical law, now you have a foundation in truth, right? You have an accurate accurate understanding of the reality that we're in. You have accurate tools that you can use to change circumstances, people, places, and events to the way that you want them to be. And as you begin to do that, you begin to become empowered, and you understand that your reality is based off of your own acceptance of your own power. And the times that you circumnavigate that power through little, circuit breakers that have to be turned on, or else you can't inhabit the state, you start to lose all of those. You start to go, no, I am this way because I choose to be this way. I am this because I claim to have it now. And I understand that as I persist, which persisting is an interesting thing. If you go into higher dimensional realities, you go into a dream state, right? Where you're totally lucid, you feel your physical body, you're in a lucid dream state. You know you're in a dream. I want a carton of eggs. Boom, it's in your fucking hand, okay? So in this reality, it's a keyed down version of what you could call a higher vibratory reality. It's a keyed down version in that it has a time delay. So you're dealing with the time delay, and you're also dealing with the forgetfulness of this thing. You forget what you did because of the time delay, so then you're running into the evidence of what state you've been inhabiting in the past. So you just don't want to fall for that trick. You want to understand the domain that you're in. You want to understand your power. You want to understand basic metaphysical properties, and you want to begin to think righteously, which is another word for accurately, as if you are the person right now who you want to be and having what you want to have right now, and you are prioritizing that as the number one goal. So I know you guys enjoyed the video today. Feel free to leave comments of videos you'd like to see in the future. Additionally, the link tree has my protocols, whether you want to do the modern metaphysics protocol, which is a basic entry protocol for working with me, or you could do a little bit beefier one, which is the Spartan 1 human optimization system that basically gives you everything that you need to optimize the living daylights out of your body, because you only got one body. So if it doesn't fucking kick ass, it limits you. So make sure your body's super fucking legit. And then you have just one-on-one coaching if you want to work through an issue or you just want to chat or something like that. That's all there as well. But more important than any of that, go conquer, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.